Yeah, I'm Peter Spencer, sports editor at Manchester Evening News. In my spare time, what little I have, I'm an amateur referee, level 5, and therefore I've got first-hand experience of how the Respect programme is working in this country. The bottom line is that at grassroots level it is working, and at long last the Premier League have decided that they're going to do something about it and follow suit. It should have been the other way around, because these professional players are role models for children. So how do they expect people like me to enforce the laws of the game when you can watch on Match of the Day or Sky players misbehaving, and then the younger players and not so young players who are playing the amateur game just mimic the professionals that they've seen on TV.
What sort of punishments do you think they have to hand out for football, professional football, to take notice?
Well, money doesn't matter, of course, because the players are on so much, but suspension is the killer, because that's what affects the performance of the team and also starts angering the managers. And once the managers start losing their star players for several games, they start enforcing the rules and telling the players they've got to behave themselves. No back chat, no swearing, do as the referee says, and basically abide by the laws of the game.
And you think the same has to apply to managers who criticise referees?
Yeah, that's getting completely out of hand now. I mean, it's always been a joke amongst referees that as soon as the team gets beaten, then whose fault is it? The referee, of course. Many times in the amateur game, you'll get everybody's nice and friendly at the beginning, and then afterwards, who wants to shake your hand? The winning team, of course. It's an absolute joke, and it's ridiculous that they should put themselves in that position of being mocked by the officials. We can't do it publicly, of course. We have to just keep it to ourselves. But the bottom line is that managers always blame the referee. Often players do as well.
But is there a fault with the media, because the media wants to know what the managers really think about the referees, and if the managers say what they really think, then they end up in trouble? Are we going to be asking the managers just to lie?
No, what we're asking the managers to do is reflect on the decisions, but not talk about the background of the referee and suggest that he's in any way being unfair and not doing his job. You can criticise someone for the way that he made a decision or the angle that it was in, but you should never talk about his background and why he's been appointed to a particular match.
What's the worst example you've seen on the football pitch of disrespect to referees?
Well, it's when I got beaten up and knocked out 5 years ago when I first started refereeing. Basically, I decided that this player was giving me too many verbals, and I booked him. And then moments later he carried on. I told him, look, you're going to have to stop this. It's getting embarrassing, because it was having an effect on the other players. And as I bent down, because I dropped my cards in the mud, he clobbered me, and I was knocked out. So he knocked out the sports editor, and it happened at the Hough End Police Club in Charlton. So he wasn't that bright, was he? Because he got maximum publicity and maximum punishment.
And how much do you think this is a problem that society has got, or is it a problem that peculiar to football?
I do think it's a problem for society as well. I think people are swearing too much. It's becoming the normal language for many people now. And you have to work that out for yourself as you're playing. Are you offended by this language, or is it normal working place language that people use naturally without trying to offend anybody? So you have to look at your own tolerance levels as well. So that's a problem. But also I think that children from when they first started playing football should realise that the referee is there to help the game flow and enforce the laws of the game. And if he makes a mistake, he's made a mistake. I mean, how many players miss open goals and misplaced passes? But you never hear that going on and on and on and repeated 1,000 times by people on Sky television and analysing every single mistake. They don't do that with every player. I mean, there was open goals missed the other night for England. Nobody'd go replace them thousands of times.
You're convinced that the change in the professional game will have a direct impact throughout the whole game, down to the level that you're refereeing at?
Well, it's supposed to have been in place for 5 years, the changes in the professional game. The Respect programme, it's called, where you have more, you pass on more responsibility to the captains, but the captains are generally Jekyll and Hyde characters like all the players. So you meet them before the game, you introduce yourself, you tell them how you're going to try and manage the game. They cross the white line and suddenly they turn into the opposite to what you've just been speaking to. It's astonishing when the red mist comes down. So that's one element that's a huge problem. But the biggest one is that this is supposed to have been enforced for 5 years now, the Respect programme. But I see very little change in the profession professional game where players are still surrounding referees, arguing the toss about every single decision, and then you get the managers joining in at the end of the game. Whereas now the Premier League have taken it away from the FA because the FA have been so weak on this topic, and they said, look, we'll enforce it. We're going to tell the managers what they've got to do. And quite frankly, it's about time.
Lots of people mention the example of rugby. Why do you think that football can't be the same as rugby?
Well, that's evolved over the ages. Rugby union, which I used to play at school, was a game that was played by old grammar schools. Maybe they did have a little bit more respect there, whereas football is a working class sport. Better sport as it happens, but it's still a working class sport, and referees have tried to blend in with that sort of mentality to keep the games flowing. But in rugby union, as you say, you're often called sir when you're officiating in rugby union. And when I do student matches, obviously some of the youngsters there, they used to play in rugby as well, and they call you sir, which is a pleasant surprise, frankly.
Do you think that probably that sort of level of respect for referees is probably never going to be attained in football then?
No, I don't think it will be now. I mean, I've spoken to several referees, including Howard Webb, various meetings I've attended, and I said, look, you're not doing us any favours at all by the way that you're officiating. He and others have told me that they don't feel they're getting the support of the FA, because once you send 3 players off, you end up with 8, and the game has got to be abandoned. So you wouldn't be doing the game a service if you started abandoning matches by enforcing the laws of the game. So they're under it. They've got a cleft stick as well, but which way to go.
The Manchester United seem to be singled out a lot, the manager and players, in terms of respect for referees. Do you think they're any better or worse than other top clubs?
Well, Fergie certainly had to say about referees, but it's because United is such a high-profile club. If we're talking about Bury or Scunthorpe, I'm sure they have their issues with the referees as well, but it doesn't get publicised as much, certainly not in the Manchester Evening News.
And what about the players at United?
They're not different to any other players. There's players in the past, Leeds United for instance, who often intimidate referees, but surrounding the referee is quite a daunting experience when you're there on your own. Effectively, it's bullying.